Yeah, that's, yeah.
We're gonna go with that.
ahead and call the meeting, Maury County Board of Education to order. Members, you have got a copy of the agenda for this evening. Are there any changes? All right, hearing none, then I need a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. Motion by Renda, second by Dwayne, all in favor? It is approved. I'm gonna ask you, would the please stand, we're gonna do the pledge and inspiration. Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day that you have given us. We thank you for this time to come together to conduct the business of the school system. God, I pray that you be with us in each and every decision we make. God, you provide many blessings for us, God, and one of those blessings is the teachers, the administrators, the support staff, and the students of our school system. Lord, we continue to pray for them, for their families, and God, that you keep them safe and help them to do their job to the best of their abilities. And we ask all these things in your name. Amen. All right. Next item is the consent items. You have a copy of the minutes for November the 7th and November the 11th. Are there any changes? All right, hearing none, then I need a motion. We approve the consent items as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Kelly. Second by Renda, all in favor? They are approved. Next item is recognitions.
All right, so we got some board recognitions tonight, and I just want to say before I turn over to Kelly, you guys have been the best board I've ever worked with. I appreciate you guys, I appreciate the work you do, so I'm glad to get to recognize y'all tonight. Kelly, I'll turn it over to you.
We do have 3 board members who, tonight is their last meeting, so I'm sad, they're probably happy. That I think they're planning on going to Tanner's basement and start watching on the TV every month so they can be part of it still. But I'm gonna come down there, and if Keith Jones wants to come up. I had asked Keith to come and speak on, we're gonna recognize Greg first, but he has been on the board probably longer, I know longer than any of us with Greg, and so when we were talking about doing something for Greg, I said there wasn't anybody better than Keith to come and speak on behalf of his accomplishments and everything that he's done here, so I'm gonna hand it over to Keith.
All right, Dr. Wright, board, thank you for letting me be here tonight. Greg, congratulations on 20 years of service in the Maury County School District. Your years of service have been remarkable and inspiring. It was an honor to spend 7.5 years alongside you and learn how to listen and make informed decisions, not hasty ones. I would also like to thank you on a personal note. There's 2 important dates that will forever be ingrained in my memory. The first memory is the night of November 4th, 2014. With the election results official, you're the first phone call that I received, and we didn't even know each other at the time. That showed me the type of person and leader that I would come to know on a more personal level in the years to follow. The second important date was May the 23rd, 2019, when you allowed me to congratulate the graduates of Maury County High School on stage with Superintendent Lothridge at the time, with one of the graduates being my oldest daughter. These are 2 memories that I will hold on to from the years on the board serving alongside you. Thank you for those memories and the service that you provided for our community.
Thank you.
Have your little gift. I don't know if they could, you can summon your family with it, but you won't, when you're in the basement with Tanner, y'all can put your own baby. And then we want to recognize Erin and Tanner. Tanner has been on for 4 years. Am I right? That's right, right?
Sure.
Well, we're not so sorry. And then Erin has served 8. You've served 2 terms. Yep. And we appreciate y'all, and we're gonna miss y'all. And you're gonna miss us, that's what you're saying. Something back.
You guys wanna say anything?
I appreciate my time here and learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot about what went on before I got here, and turns out I didn't know most of what I thought I knew, so been a good experience, and appreciate everybody getting behind us and made some tough decisions along the way, and thankful for the opportunity. I think we made a good board. Of course, I've been here, I guess, less than anybody, but we got through some things we didn't always agree on, and, they were easy to work with, and got a lot of things done, I think, so I just appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Uh,
Let's give them all a big round of
Yeah.
applause. Then we get the speech you've been preparing, right?
Well, there's one in my head, but I don't wanna, I do wanna say thank you to each and every one. The old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And I know you're probably saying good. For the most part, it has been good. I've enjoyed my time. I hope I have made some small difference in helping better our school system. But the thanks that I have and the appreciation I have goes to you guys, the support staff, the administrators and teachers. It's all of you. We play a very small part in it, and I thank you personally for everything that you do for our students and for our school system. Sometimes it's not easy, and you have to take those lumps, but you take them professionally, and I appreciate that. You'll never know how much that means to me as a board member, former board member, fixing me, and a parent, and as just a citizen of Murray County. I've had a lot of good board members to work with, and I agree with Tanner. This is a great group. And Heath was awesome. I never thought that the friendship would be there like it is, and I really do appreciate him and his family, even though his wife and daughter are Tennessee fans. I'm not sure on that one, but that's okay, we'll get past that. But I just leave, with the board, the new board, I hope that they'll always remember just to keep the kids first in every decision they make. And sometimes the decision that the board has to make, what's best for these students does not always coincide with what the public wants. I know we're elected by the public, but I also know sometimes those two things don't mesh. And our job is to go with what is best for the students in the school system and take the lumps as they come along. And we've taken our lumps at times for things. But I appreciate y'all, appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate Steve, and I thought you told us when you left you were never coming to a board meeting. Here you are. So I appreciate working with you, and I think things are in good hands with Dr. Wright, and as we go forward, it's been an honor to serve with you in the short time that we have. So thank you once again, and if I'm not in Tanner's basement watching the board member on YouTube, I might show up. I'm not gonna make a promise, because you never know what's gonna happen, and I'll never come back to one. I'll just take Heath's leadership in that. He comes every now and then, so I may do that. So thank you so much, and appreciate everything that y'all do for our school system. Thank you. All right, no public participation on this one. Okay, next.
Yes, so we've got our operational financial effectiveness. Dr. Smith presented things on Thursday during the work session, so we don't have anything else to add to that. So there's the financials and the purchase order as presented.
Any questions? All right, first I need a motion that we approve the SPOS outline and financial statement as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Kelly,
Second.
second by Dwayne, all in favor? They are approved. Next is the purchase orders, and I think we only have the one, for the next switch.
We're at Chatsworth.
At Chatsworth. Any questions on that? Okay, if not, I need a motion to approve the purchase order as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Renda,
Second.
second by Kelly, all in favor? It is approved.
All right, next up, in student achievement success, we have our field trip that we discussed last week, with North Murray and Murray County, a little joint field trip. Just need that approval from you guys for the overnight trip.
Any questions?
You need any more chaperones?
We can all be chaperones for sure.
I love an easy trip.
And when is this?
It's March, we fly out March the 10th, that night, and then we come back on the 14th.
Oh, I'm going on the 15th.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, then need a motion, we approve the field trips as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Renda,
Second.
second by Kelly, all in favor? It is approved.
All right, and I've got a couple of updates I need to give. I could not do them on Thursday because the data was embargoed until Friday. So I wanted to get that data out to you as soon as we can. We've got two things that we need to share. One is an update on Coker Elementary. Last year, if you remember, we talked about Coker going through the ATSI process from the state. And so part of that process is kind of to update you guys on the way we're doing.
Can we turn it so we, yeah, okay, and y'all got one you can see? Okay, all right. I don't want anybody missing things.
So part of what we have to do with this process is update you guys on what's been going on at Coker. So the purpose of this, they gave us a template that we use. The purpose of this is just to give you the information you need to show you about our district plan of support, the school improvement actions and results, the data we've been having so far, and then also some successes and looking forward to what's going to happen going forward. So first, there are different designations schools can have. You have CSI schools that involve certain characteristics there. You have TSI schools, but Coker was identified as an ATSI school, which is Additional Targeted Support School. And it had to do with a school that had one subgroup that was struggling. And at Coker, it was identified due to our Students with Disabilities subgroup that we talked about a little bit this year. So that was the identifying factor for Coker based on last year, or 2 years ago's, or 2023 CCRPI results, or milestones results. So the district plan of support was put in place. We have an ATSI committee that was created. Godot came in and worked with us to do that. 2 goals were identified by that committee and action steps were created. And because this focused on our students with disabilities, we looked at that data specifically. And what we felt was most important was to help move those kids, when you have your milestones results, they can score to level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4. We had a large number of our students with disabilities scoring at a level 1. And so we wanted to focus on moving those and growing those up into our levels 2s, 3s, and 4s. So you can see the 2 goals there. The second goal for math was written, that number was higher. When we got newer results, the number dropped a little bit. That's why there's not a big ask, as big of an ask in math as there was for reading, because they were performing a little better there. And so as part of that, we had some action steps that we took in there. Coker has done some professional development at their school, working with their students on specially designed instruction, IRIS training that was to build teacher capacity to work with our students, specifically our students with disabilities, and specifically with the co-teaching models that we use. What are the most effective ways to use our special ed teachers that come into the classroom to help our students? Part of the actions are monitoring observation data. So we go out and do walkthroughs, different district staff, school staff, goes out and does walkthroughs in the classrooms to see how teachers are implementing the training that we have given them. We also kind of dovetailed that in with our new Benchmark Advanced curriculum in literacy. We're doing some look-fors there to make sure that we're implementing it in the proper way. And then we also looked at our intervention processes, because many of these kids are going through these intervention processes. So whether it be corrective, early interventions in reading, or corrective math, we've been monitoring data and monitoring how that has been implemented at the the school level. So here's the data from the last two CCRPIs, and this is why I could not show this last week, because the 2024 milestone, or excuse me, CCRPI data had just been made available publicly last Friday. So if you'll focus down on that very bottom category, where it says students with disabilities, and you can see it done by level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So last year, our students, we went from having 87% of our students in level 1 in language arts to 62. So it was a nice jump there. Our goal is to continue moving that number forward and get it to 50% this year. And once that goal is met, we'll relook at our plan and see if we want to make some adjustments there. But we had a good year with our students. We had a good year overall, if you look at the data there, as far as growth goes. Got a ways to go, but we're moving those kids out of that level 1, which is where we need to start.
So who did you say you wanted to go to 50% level 2?
Down at the bottom, the last one,
Right.
where it says level 1, we want that number to be 50% or lower. So
Oh.
we went from 87 to 62.
Right.
Our goal this year is to go from 62 to 50.
Okay, that's what I didn't get, okay. So the other, that should raise up
Yes.
2s and 3s maybe,
Yes, it should, that's the goal.
yeah, okay.
And then in math, you can see the data there, we went from 68% to 50% last year. So we wanted to move from 50 to 46% this year is our goal. We had good growth across all of those bands if you look up through there, but this ATSI process focuses specifically on those students with disability. So Andrea and her team, Christy and her team have done a wonderful job this year out in the classrooms working with those teachers. And so here's kind of the successes we've seen this year. One, implementing those professional development things we've asked our teachers to do, particularly in that area of co-teaching. We hired through federal funds, we hired a school improvement coordinator and that's Kathy Moore, and she's been a valuable piece to help those teachers and to be a good sounding board for Christy to look through things there. Originally, when you qualify for the ATSI process, you're supposed to get $100,000 from the state to implement these changes that you're going to get. The state did not give us any money to do the things that we need to do there. They tasked us to do some things without providing the money to do it. But we rerouted some money in our federal programs things, so Dr. Eskett's been a big help with that, and we've been able to make that happen with what we have. So Kathy's been a big part of that. And then just our administrators and our team has worked and done a good job of going out and being in the rooms and really working with those teachers hands-on, trying to find ways to better support our small group students, our students with disabilities. It does no good to go in a room and have 2 teachers and one's up front teaching, the other one's just kind of wandering around, keeping people on task there. And so I appreciate the efforts we've had from our district staff and our school staff. They bought in. It's been extra. It's been a lot, but I think, and what Kristen and I talked about, I think they're seeing the benefits of it, and it's caused them to want to continue the work. And so sustainability and next steps, the district support team will continue to work through that district plan of support. We address the needs we have with the funding we have. We'll see what happens next year this is a 3-year process, so this is technically year 2. So we'll see if they come back and offer some money for the year 3, and we'll reevaluate things once we hear what they have to say there. And then hopefully we meet our goals and we can go back and revise those goals and look to continue improvement going forward. So that's kind of an update on our ATSI process. If you've got a question, Christy and Andrew are here if you want to ask them anything, or I can answer anything for you.
You said we normally get funded for that, but we didn't this one?
ATSI is a special funding category, like when they designate a school as an ATSI school, they say, all right, we're going to task you to do these extra things, and we're going to give you this extra money to do it. We've had some schools go through the TSI process in the past, and they've been given that extra money. You had it for a couple of years, and then it goes away. This year, they did not give us funding for it. They said they received less from the federal government, and so they said we had to cut certain things from title, and that was one of them. So we used what we had. We redid some things within our budget. We felt like having Kathy Moore there was a big asset to really lean in and help this process, because it's a lot of extra work for our staff, and so she's been invaluable.
I do have a question. Are these, I know Coker has some, well, I won't say that. Would this be children that are like severe and profound? Or is it just children that are like having RTI folder that are in the process of being evaluated? Have they already been evaluated? How did they qualify as in this area?
These are all of our students that are already identified as students with disabilities. So they've been through the RTI process, they have IEPs,
Okay.
and they've taken milestones. If you get severe profound, those are the ones that might be doing,
They don't-
GAA.
Right.
That's not what this is talking
Okay,
about.
okay, that was my question, okay.
And this was the elementary to K-5 reading and math, so that's what we wrote our goals for. So far so good, and kudos to the staff at Coker. They've done a wonderful job finishing things last year as we got into this, digging into it, and then hitting the ground running this year. It's been summer work, training throughout the year, and they've done a great job. All right. And the next is our CCRPI update. CCRPI went public last week on Friday. We've been kind of waiting for that to happen. We had seen things behind the scenes embargoed, but I want to give you a brief update on that information. Of course, CCRPI is the College of Career Ready Performance Index, and it's got 4 categories, 5 if you count graduation rate. They use achievement, which is content mastery. That's just your assessment scores. They use progress, which is where they track growth over time, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. The closing gaps portion of CCRPI has to do with your subgroups. So how are your students with disabilities? How are your Hispanic, your non-English speaker, your English as second language students, your students that might be economically disadvantaged. And then readiness, there's 3 factors there typically. That's your literacy, which is derived from the milestone scores, student attendance, and then career preparedness, and they base that on like the types of courses your kids are taking in the school. And so CCRPI used to have that single score. A few years ago, they did away with that, and they have the 4 component scores. They don't calculate that into a single score unless you've got some other entities like the governor's office of student achievement. They are going to do that, but the state, the Department of Education does not. So looking at results, this is from the state and the district. You can see where the elementary, the middle, and the high schools fell. Numbers in parentheses are the increase from the previous year. So you can see the state's numbers at the top and the system's numbers at the bottom. So kind of like we talked about with our milestones presentations, we are behind. The good news is we're catching up. You know, we're running the race a little faster, we just gotta get caught up a little bit. So any area you see in green, that's where we outpace the growth of the state or the state score as a whole. Like the progress score for the district in elementary was better than the state's progress score. That's good, that shows that we're growing. The middle school closing gap score was higher than the middle school, the state score. That has to do with how we're helping our subgroups along. It says not comparable there because we can't compare it to last year's. There were some changes there that make those numbers not something you want to look at. So we've got some graduation rate continues to outpace the state at the high school level. So we saw some good things there. We've seen some good improvements. We got a ways to go, but we're moving in the right direction. Next up, if you want to go back 5 years and compare 2019 to 2024, this is how far we were behind the state. And you can see all those areas in green are areas where we have significantly closed the gap. That closing gaps one, I want to tell you, it varies wildly from year to year. That's why you have large numbers there as compared to the others. But you can see where, you know, we've closed the gap significantly in many of these areas. High school, we still got some work going on there. Progress has closed the gap a little better. We've got some things to do there. And as Richard Wood said this morning at our thing, you know, the high school is based on our KA, you know, the work we do there and then the work we do in the high school. It's all tied together. Nobody lives in an island where I can say, well, hey, my scores are my scores and look what I did. It's all about what we did because it's the people that come before me and the people that come after me to be able to sustain the work that we're doing. But we're moving in the right direction. We're closing those gaps that we need to close, so we're excited about that. And then digging in a little deeper, if you want to see the elementary, looking at content mastery and progress, you can see what we scored in 2023 versus what we scored in 2024. So we made gains in those areas. Science was about 1 point down this year in elementary. But the progress, we're pleased there. That's shows the growth that our kids are making. And what they do is they compare kids. If I take the test and I score, 525, they're gonna compare me to other kids that scored 525 around the state. And they're gonna rank me in a band. They're gonna call me a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4. 4 is high growth, 3 is proficient growth, 2 is moderate, and 1 is low or no growth. And so that's how they calculate that score. So when you look at that, and you can look at it on the CCRPI page, I'll show you where that's at. You can see that we had a lot of good growth in our elementary, so I'm pleased with that. And our EL progress, we were at the ceiling already at 100. That's based on our access scores, so we dropped just a hair there. At the middle school level, again, you see that continued growth. The only one we saw a drop in this year was social studies. And social studies and science are little outliers because they're really only measured in one grade level. And so you don't get a full picture of the entire school. But we had growth in one and we dropped in another. So there's things to where we can work at. And again, the progress scores, the ELA went up. The math came down just a little bit there. We've been kind of anticipating that based on some stuff we saw at the middle school last year, throughout the year, our iReady and some of the things we had seen. So it wasn't a shock. The EL progress was one we've talked about, and ask anybody that works in the EL world in middle school and high school, it is hard for those kids to make progress because that test is very hard. I used to always say, hey, I want to give that kid test to some of our English speaking students, and let's see how well they do on it, because it's tough. The later it takes in life, when kids come in newcomers at later times in their educational journey, it's tougher. But that just shows us we've got some work to do in that area. So we've shared this, our ESOL teachers have this data, and our schools do, and they can put in the work we need to do to help those kids out. And at the high school level, I'm just showing the content mastery. The other ones are a little hard to compare because they've got some scores that didn't count this year and some scores that didn't count last year, so it's hard to have an apples to apples. So you can see in 3 of our 4 subject areas, we saw growth last year. We want to increase that growth. We've got to get those numbers up a little higher. I talked when we did our milestones presentation about some of the things we're already doing and putting in place to make that happen. Some of it has to do with having certain kids test that aren't testing. That's low-hanging fruit if we can make that work. Some of it is we just got to dig in and do a better job with our Tier 1 instruction, particularly in our algebra and our biology classrooms. New standards in math, new tests in math last year. So I'm hoping with an adjustment we'll see that continuing to grow in our biology. Alright, so if you want to see anything else with the CCRPI, if you go to the website, if you just type in CCRPI, ccrpi.gado.org, it will take you to this page. And you'll have to search for Murray County. You can look at it as a district. You can look at it by school. You can break it down. When you click at it, you're going to say, well, I can't find anything. It's just our demographics. If you want to know our demographics, there you go. When you start comparing apples to apples, compare that to when you start looking at other districts. When you talk about some of our demographic things there. But still doesn't mean we don't have high expectations. Yes, ma'am.
How do you know that they're economically disadvantaged?
It's dealing with the pre-reduced lunch rates.
Okay,
So when they turn those things in.
okay.
And that number, that's the average. You'll see it kind of fluctuate. Our high schoolers tend to show less, and our elementary shows more.
Yeah,
Our elementary is about 90%, I think, and our high school is like 70.
and that's why we qualified for everybody.
That's part of the reason, yes, when they did the CEP this year for everybody to get their free reduced lunch. So when you click on these things, you can go across the top up here, you can look at content mastery as a district, and this is where you'll see those numbers that I was showing you. And it breaks it down by subgroups, so you can look and see how each subgroup is doing there. And you can go back up to the top and you can compare it back to previous years. I'm cautioning you, 2022 is a little wonky, that's coming out of COVID, that first year. And of course 19 and 18 are pre-COVID, and you'll go back in those years and you'll find us having new tests because we had social studies and different grade levels and things like that. CCRPI, there's some good things about it. It's been hard to compare over the years because they keep changing. And so you don't get 3 years in a row where you can really see the same thing. But check that out if you like. Any questions about our CCRPI update?
Is this printed like to the public? How does does the public see this?
We share the links publicly
Okay.
on our site, but like, this is all public now.
Okay.
As of last Friday, it was made public. And they'll usually have some reports that go out in, different, areas about papers or whatnot, but, this will be out there. And you'll start to see, different, like the GOSA people will take this and start doing their things with it, and other people will as well. But this is a good report of the data. You can go in and kind of look at the milestones data. You'll see it's a little different than the data we shared before, because CCRPI will take out certain kids that weren't here. Whereas we're sharing you raw data. Here's all the kids that took this test. CCRPI says, okay, only kids that were here 65% of the year, I think it is, they count. And so they'll take out some of those kids. But they take it out for everybody. And so a transient system will see some changes. But when you're talking about, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 kids, a few kids here and there, changes a little bit, but not on the whole. At the school level, it can, especially in certain grade levels.
School to school, but it can't.
It does not. So like if you're at my school and you're there half the year and you go to another school half the year, you're not counting on anybody's, according to this.
You would think if they're in the same county, they would still count.
I don't know if they count it from the district standpoint, that's a good question, because I've always just dealt with the school level. Because I knew if a kid came by November or whatever the date was, I knew those kids were gonna count on my stuff, and I could kind of see. I don't know about system level, because I think they take that as being transient. I can look at it. All right, thank you. That's all I've got from the Student Achievement and Success Center. Sitting with my mountaineer friend and my different friend.
All right, I need a motion that we go into executive session real quick.
So moved. Real quick.
Second. Motion by Brenda, second by Wayne, all in favor.
Uh,
We're in executive session.